Now, let's dive deep into this big LGBTQ plus story for today. I'm Bonnie Builder, and let's corrupt South Florida and Florida. Budget cuts force Orlando's Kissimmee LGBT Center to close. 7 years after it first opened, the Kissimmee office of the Center Orlando, known to many as the LGBT plus Center, will soon close its doors. The center has served Central Florida's LGBTQ community since 1978. But Chief Executive Officer George Wallace told Orlando Weekly that federal funding cuts and rising operational costs left them with no choice but to restructure. Some of the financial support, including grant money from the Contigo Fund, had helped sustain the Kissimmee office until now. Wallace shared, quote, "For the past 7 years, this office has been operating as a safe haven for thousands of Osceola County residents. We are immensely proud of the impact we've had and the lives we've touched," end quote. The Kissimmee office opened in 2018, following the Pulse nightclub tragedy, where most victims were young, queer, and Latinx. Since then, the Oak Street location has been a lifeline for the community, offering counseling, HIV prevention, support groups, and simply a safe place to be. Although the Kissimmee building will close, the center's main Orlando offices on Mills Avenue and Hillcrest Street will remain open, with services centralized there. Wallace confirmed all Kissimmee staff will be retained except one employee who chose another job. Mobile HIV testing and outreach will also continue in Osceola County. Wallace assured, quote, "We are also committed to partnering with local organizations to ensure that no one is left behind," end quote. The closure reflects a broader trend. Across the U.S., nonprofits are facing cuts to federal grant money. LGBTQ plus groups in particular have been hit by policy scaling back diversity and inclusion initiatives. To weather the storm, the center launched the Journey Forward fundraising campaign this spring with a goal of raising $250,000. The nonprofit hopes that community support will help sustain programs that government funding can no longer guarantee. This is heartbreaking. Even in our own community, even in Fort Lauderdale, we have local nonprofit organizations that are suffering from cutbacks because they are core organizations. Right. Where I go get tested, Latino Salute, they are being threatened with cutbacks, AHS and other organizations like that. So it's so disheartening to hear that one of us have unfortunately fallen to this anti-queer legislation that's being pushed towards us. So I'm hoping that we can gather as a community, and I say this every time I'm here, all you rich, retired homosexuals sitting on your money, knowing you about to kick the bucket and that money ain't going nowhere, please give that money back to the community. We need it. These organizations need it. You thought everything was going to be fine. You just get a little rent boy to come wash your floors and do other things. No, use that money to push this community forward. We need each other.
Yeah, there's a reason why hearses do not have luggage racks.
Exactly what Dale just said. All right. So we really need to pour into ourselves because we cannot rely on the government to pour into us anymore. Not at these times. What do y'all think?
It's an absolute call to action. Absolutely. Mm-hmm. You know, supporting nonprofits across the board is definitely something, you know, to look into if you support LGBTQ plus issues. It happened to us too, you know, the state pulled money from the chorus. Mm-hmm. And, you know, we knew about this, you know, 2 years ago going into our season, you know, that we were starting to see the cuts. And so we had to reorganize.
Even with the Biden administration?
Yes, because, you know, as at that point, you know, we also were getting state money from the state. So more or less that was what was being affected from us at the time. But yeah, you know, we reorganized, we reimagined, we decided, you know, what we were doing isn't going to work. We had to prioritize. And, you know, I think we're starting to come through it a little bit better this time around. You know, I was worried about in terms of like sponsors, like who would be wanting to sponsor nonprofits and stuff. And I'm so happy to see that there are people and there are companies stepping up. So
are the companies, I'm sorry, I'm not, I'm interrupting on purpose.
Go ahead.
Looking for sponsors.
Right?
Yeah. Like, what you do?
No, I mean, are you getting local sponsors and bigger companies as well?
We're getting both, yes. And we're seeing, you know, a little bit more of a surplus. You know, people are coming in, you know, with their local businesses that they run and stuff and wanting to be, you know, like an associate sponsor of ours too, you know, at a certain level that they can give. And that's adding up as well. So it's just, you know, sometimes you just got to go back to the drawing board and start all over again. And sometimes you do have to close, you know, any type of buildings or anything that we're
right, bricks and
operating in.
mortar.
Yeah. So, but, we work out of our own homes sometimes, we're remote, we'll get the job done, well, put me in the street with my laptop and I'll be there working.
Okay.
So. Edward, baby.
That's his corner. Don't go there.
Yeah.
So, but, it's going to, and as businesses start to face more challenges with rising prices and rising wholesale prices, it's going to be even more of a challenge for those businesses, especially local, and maybe even big corporations to step up and sponsor. So this is a continued call to action to be more creative and imaginative in what we're going to be doing.
Yes, and also as you were mentioning, the arts, which is tied into this because DeSantis has made it clear that for him, arts are gay. Mm-hmm. So he's thinking that there's drag queens. If we take all the money away from the arts, that way we won't have as much LGBTQ representation when we won't have the drag queens, we won't have. So they are interconnected, and I also work and serve on the boards of arts organizations. Yes, particularly in Florida, it's worse. Yeah. Because they cut it at the state level, as well as what Trump is doing at the national level, trying to completely erase gay rights, they just don't want us to be seen. Mm-hmm. They don't want us to see on the street corner. We reported on another day that they don't want to see a rainbow anywhere. I'm surprised they ain't shooting it down from the sky when they see it. Right. So it's something that I hope gets picked up a little bit more on the 24-hour news stream media, on the CNNs, on the MSNBCs, to just showcase how intentionally cruel all of this is. And you know what? There are so many of us that are part of your families. Every MAGA person got a gay person in their family. Right? Everybody got a gay person in their family. Mm-hmm. And even those MAGA people, they be sleeping with those on the side.
Well, they're getting the ones getting the blowjobs on the side are really the most vile ones. Mm-hmm. The ones voting against us and playing around with those of us in the community, it's disgusting.
Yeah, so, we need to make sure that the people who are just not really engaged in politics, that they hear of these stories and they see how intentionally cruel they're trying to be to help turn the tide and, talk to your representatives. Congress listens. What I have realized in the past few years is that when you protest, when you make a whole lot of ruckus, people like to say, "Oh, you're just a keyboard warrior," Social media makes a difference. Mm-hmm. The more you post, the more you embolden other people who are quiet to say, maybe I should post. If 20 of my friends are posting, maybe I should show some kind of solidarity. And, yesterday I was just happy, or 2 days ago, I was happy to see that Danielle Levine Cava in Miami reversed course and restored most of the funding back to the arts community. And I made a post about it in social media about how it works. When Trump is doing the illegal things that he's doing, when you take to the streets and there's enough pushback and people think they're going to lose their election, it works. So please make a ruckus, post this on your social media. Let everybody know what's going on.
That's right. And in the comments down below, I want you to name 5 rich people that you know.
Tag them.
Their phone number. Right. Or maybe just their social media so we can DM them and get their money. And with that being said, that is a big LGBTQ plus story for today. There's no other queer nonprofit media platform like this in the entire world. Support our LGBTQ plus stories by subscribing to and sharing Queer News Tonight.